This year marks the 30th anniversary of the foundation of Cork City FC, and fittingly it has also seen the return of club legend John Caulfield as manager. He played for the club in the early days in the mid-80s, and he remembers how it was back then.
The main things, I suppose, is that Turner's Cross, there was no stands in Turner's Cross. It was just clay banks all around the ground. Our training, we used to train down in a council patch down in Man, where there's a load of houses there now, but at the time we used to train on the street lights. So I suppose the big thing at the time was the training facilities were barbaric, but at the time that was just the way it was.
The club grew over the next few years, playing out a famous draw at Bayern Munich in 91 before winning their first league title in 93, which saw mass celebration in the city.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic, because we came back. I'll always remember it was the Sunday evening. We came back into Cork. It was a beautiful summer's evening. It was late May. It was 27th, 28th of May, and huge thousands came out, and we were on the bus, picked up at the train station, and bussed the whole way through Patrick Street down to Guinness House at the time, which was around Patrick's Quay, and I just remember the crowds and the thousands that came out, and it was fantastic, and I suppose because it was the end of the season, there was a lot of celebrating for the next week or 2 weeks, going to schools and different clubs and park pubs and whatever. So it was a good time. It was a good time.
An ill-fated move to their own stadium in Bishopstown eventually saw the club hit financial trouble. As a result, the fans turned against the board.
At the time, the chairman, I suppose, didn't warm himself to the supporters, and it just turned into probably not a nice period for the club, because we could see things were getting worse, and from a player's point of view, and a lot of us were all Cork City people, and we didn't want this to happen. But you could see that there was a huge issue between the chairman and the supporters, and there was and certainly you could see he wasn't going to win this one.
The club was later saved by local businessmen. Dave Barry was appointed as manager and rebuilt the club to a point where they were competing in the league and Europe again.
This is the night we won the league in 2005 against Derry City, which was just incredible. I mean, it was one of those things that you just put every single ingredient into the mix, and it had everything. It was home game, massive crowd. You had the last night of the old shed. It was the fact that we had to win. Like a draw wouldn't have done. We had to go. We had to win. It'd been so long since Cork City had lifted a league title. We'd come so close so many times.
Unfortunately, the success led to financial recklessness, which brought the club to its knees and led to protests against the chairman.
I remember one of the games towards the end of the 2009 season where there was a protest outside the game, and my head was inside the ground, my body was inside the ground, my heart was across the road with people protesting, and I remember talking to the manager and the players afterwards, and they'd come out. I think the protest was for the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes of the game, so the players came out to an empty stadium, and to be honest, it freaked most of them out, because crowds vary at Turner's Cross, but you never come out to Turner's Cross when there's nobody there, and it was just a surreal experience for people.
Get out of our club! Get out of our club! You lame bastard! Get out of our club!
Thankfully, when things did begin to fall apart, Forrest was there to pick up the pieces and thankfully save the club, because the reality is, had those people not done what they did when they did, we would have had yet again, like we had in the early 80s, at least a year, if not more, without Senior League of Ireland football in Cork. And for me, that's unthinkable. But we came within a hair's breadth of it. So it's sobering looking back on it. But hats off have to go to all of the people who put in the work, the money, the effort, the time to make it a reality.
After those dark days, the club rebuilt under Forrest and have returned to the Premier Division. That goal earned City at the point against champion St Pat's in front of a crowd of over 5,000, the biggest in 7 years. Much of this has been put down to Caulfield, and who better to describe what makes Cork City special?
And I just think that we have a uniqueness that other League of Ireland clubs don't have. And I think when you talk to even players that come in from the outside, and what I mean by that, coming from different counties or even may have played with other clubs, I think they know that when you play with Cork, it is different.